Hello, fans. This is Pat Olson here on USFDons.com. The USF Dons baseball team received an at-large invitation to the NCAA tournament. They'll play in the Eugene Regional. They'll take on Rice at 2 o'clock Friday afternoon in Eugene. They'll be joined in that regional by a very good South Dakota State team and the host Oregon Ducks. Now, you might recall USF has had some good postseason success in recent years. In fact, back in 2006, the Dons upended top seed Nebraska. And 2 years ago, in the Los Angeles Regional, USF knocked off top-seeded UCLA. They blanked them with a shutout in the first round. But that was then, and this is now. We'll sit down next with Nino Giarratano and preview the Eugene Regional and talk about the matchup with the Rice Owls. Well, Nino, you received some great news on Monday with the NCAA selection show. You get in as an at-large team. I know that you didn't make it all the way through the West Coast Conference postseason tournament, but you did enough good things to get that at-large spot. Talk about the body of work this season for your ball club and what you think maybe made it stand out when that selection committee called the USF Dons going to Eugene.
Yeah, I was very excited about that opportunity to be the number 3 seed at the Eugene Regional and have a chance to play. I've been in the regional tournament twice as a Don before this, so this will be our third time, but never as a 3 seed, always as the 4 seed, always playing the host team, and always having a tough draw. So we're glad to be there. We're glad to be a 3 seed. Hopefully that helps us do what we want to do in the tournament. But really proud of the players, what they've been able to accomplish, their body of work of going on the road and the quality wins and the wins that we had at home and how we played in conference and even how we played in the conference tournament. Beating the conference pitcher of the year, 2-time conference pitcher of the year on Thursday, and then having a come from behind victory on a 3-run home run on Friday against San Diego. And then, when you look at the body of work there, we only lose 1 game in the conference tournament. So, yeah, we don't win the conference tournament, but had there been an if necessary game, I really would have liked to have seen that.
I bet you would have. You alluded to the walk-off home run. Let's break down the tournament. You beat Gonzaga in the opener, and then you trail San Diego. You have the tremendous come-from-behind effort, the home run off the bat of Derek Atkinson that wins the ball game for you. Is that one of the biggest home runs hit and maybe one of the biggest hits and wins since you've been here as coach?
Yeah, we've had a lot of great wins here at USF, but when you talk about the magnitude of what that swing of the bat might have done for us, had we known now what we know, that might have gotten us into the regional. That could have propelled us to where we are right now today, getting into our third opportunity to get into a super regional. So, yeah, I said that to the coaches in the locker room. We may never know the magnitude of that ball getting over the right field fence for a long time, but it may take us places we've never been.
I saw the article in the San Francisco Chronicle this morning. You alluded to a couple of other big wins for your team over the course of the season that maybe gave you that good RPI. Talk about a couple of those other ball games, big wins that maybe put you on the map in front of that selection committee.
I think the team that carried our RPI most of the year was Oregon State. Going to Oregon State on a Tuesday, Wednesday before we opened conference play at Gonzaga was very big for us. We played great the first night. We played great the second night and had a chance to beat them, so I think that opened a lot of people's eyes. Going to TCU, who was a College World Series participant last year, beating them 2 out of 3 with a come-from-behind victory in the third game really kind of propelled us. Going to Arizona, who was the national champions, and beating them and playing well against them for 3 games. And then, there's always Stanford, having a chance to beat Stanford at Stanford late in the year, beating Cal at Cal, and beating Cal here at home and having an opportunity to do that. So, I mean, when you look at what we were able to do with our body of work and what we did in this conference, beating San Diego, who was the conference, one of the best teams in the conference with one of the best players in the whole country, and we beat them 3 out of 5 times. So when you look at that body of work, we were fortunate, but we really did earn it this time. We really played the best teams that we could play in the country, and we did great in doing so.
Let's break down the regional up in Eugene. Good competition there. Obviously, Oregon, they were 45 and 14 this year. Rice comes in. You'll play them first. They won 41 games, and they've been a perennial team that seems every year to go to the NCAA tournament. And then, South Dakota State. How do you break down the competition up there, and how do you get ready for teams that maybe you haven't seen a whole lot of?
There's just so much parity in college baseball, but when you look at the machine that's happening there at Oregon, building the new field, putting in $10–15 million into their facility there for baseball, the backing of 3,000 or 4,000 fans. And then you look at Rice, who's won a national championship, who's had great major league players, has had great players, who has a Hall of Fame coach. I mean, there's 2 Hall of Fame coaches in that regional with George Horton and Wayne Graham. So when you look at the caliber of coaching that's going to be there, and you look at the caliber of players, it's going to be a very tough regional. And in 2006, the Manhattan Jaspers beat the Dons to end our season. I never knew the Manhattan Jaspers before that, but I'll never forget them. So I'm definitely not going to take South Dakota lightly in any way, shape, or form. We're going to have to win no matter who we play. We're going to have to prepare the same way. So I just hope we're able to do what we're capable of, which is pitch, play defense, and get timely hits.
What do you know about this Rice team that you're going to face first on Friday?
Well, just like any team from Texas, they have more 90-mile-an-hour throwers in the state of Texas than anywhere. They just develop big, strong, physical players. I know they're going to be able to really pitch 1 through probably 4 or 5 guys. They're going to have a lot of velocity, some sharp breaking balls. When you look at their ERA and what they've done pitching-wise, that's kind of been their forte. Offensively, they got 5 guys above 300, which is a little different for us. Here on the West, when the ball doesn't travel as much, we don't see as many guys hitting over 300 in the lineup. So you look at how tough their lineup is. I'm sure they're going to be able to run. I haven't had a chance to see them a whole lot. I was sitting at home on Sunday watching Southern Miss and Rice play, and I had no idea we were going to play them. And I watched the 9-inning game, and just so happened we were playing them a week later. So I was glad to have my first glimpse at them. But I was very impressed by their ball club and how they're coached and how they play.
I asked you this last week as you went into the West Coast Conference postseason tournament, the importance of pitching depth in this format where it's a double elimination. You could play, a lot of games up against each other.
Yeah, this week we have a chance to play 5 games. Last weekend we played 3. I thought pitching depth was going to be important just in a 3-game series. So now we're looking at the possibility of having to play 5 games. If we're fortunate, it's 3. If we're real fortunate, it's 5. So we need to make sure that we have the depth necessary to make it through that tournament. And I think if the conference tournament shows anything, when we got to our 3rd game, we lose a 2-0 great baseball game, and we had enough depth to go a 4th or a 5th game.
USF may not have the name value as some of these teams that go every year to the NCAA postseason tournament. But with that said, back in 2006, you knocked off top seed Nebraska the first day. I believe it was a couple years back when you beat UCLA, shut them out. You have some guys that probably played in that game. Can you draw on that experience from a couple of years ago as you head to play these very good teams up in Eugene?
Yeah, I think for sure. When you look at the history of what we've been able to do in the NCAA tournament, we've been able to be competitive, and we don't have the name recognition. I'm sure when San Francisco comes up, you think of other teams in the Bay Area, but our kids believe. Our fans believe, and I think that's what's important.
How do you feel about the way the guys are reacting as you get ready here to go up to Eugene?
There's some guys that have never had an opportunity to play in a regional, but I think with the way that our schedule was played out, we played in great venues with great fans. So I think it's not going to be much different for them as far as the opportunity to play. But I like the mindset. I like where the kids are. I like where they're headed. I like how confident they are, how much fun they're having with it, and I think it's going to be great.